The worst surprises happen when you can't sleep. My name is Rose Patterson, and I've spent 33 years teaching at Riverside Elementary School. I thought I understood people. Then one Tuesday night, I came downstairs for warm milk and heard my daughter-in-law talking on her phone. My own kitchen. My own house where I'd lived since Daniel was born. "The retirement party is perfect," Jessica said quietly. "Confused teacher, too many mistakes, parents complaining. Michael agrees now. By Christmas break, the old lady's finished, and I'll take over the reading program." The old lady, standing 5 feet from her. She wanted my job. My program that I'd built for 3 decades. She'd used my husband's death as a reason. As a weakness. I put down my glass without making noise. Sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted. You know what people say about grandmas who seem sweet. You're about to learn why that's a big mistake. Click that subscribe button. This story gets really interesting and I want you here for every surprise. Here's how one conversation I heard started a school earthquake that changed everything. The clues were everywhere, but sadness makes you blind. After Robert died 2 years ago, teaching became my safe place. Maybe that made me easy to trick. Jessica started working at Riverside Elementary as the assistant principal last year. Master's degree from the university, fancy clothes, always saying we needed new ideas. At Sunday dinners, she'd drop hints. "Mom, you work so hard. At your age, shouldn't you think about resting?" Michael would agree. "Jessica's right, Mom. You've done enough. Time to enjoy life." But I wasn't finished. Teaching was everything I had left after losing Robert. The first bad thing happened in September. I walked into the teacher's lounge for our monthly meeting. Jessica was there with papers, talking to Principal Henderson. "Rose," Mr. Henderson said, looking uncomfortable. "Jessica thinks you might need help with the Rodriguez twins. Too much stress, you understand." The Rodriguez twins. I taught their older sister, helped their family for 5 years, built trust with them. Too much stress. Kept my voice calm. "Jessica, I'll handle the Rodriguez family myself." "Of course," Jessica said with that fake smile. But I saw her write something down. The second problem was bigger. October 15th, teacher reviews. Jessica asked me to her office. Glass walls everywhere, expensive furniture. Her desk chair probably cost more than my monthly bills. She pushed a folder toward me. "Your review, Rose." Opened it. Doesn't like new teaching methods. Struggles with computer programs. Worries about energy levels. Energy levels. There it was again. Who said these things? It's feedback from other teachers. Her voice was smooth and professional. But I knew my friends. Mr. Henderson worked with me for 18 years. Mrs. Chen, the math teacher, still asked my advice about difficult students. None of them worried about my energy. Which teachers? That's private, Rose. School rules. I closed the folder. 33 years of good reviews and suddenly I'm the problem. But here's what Jessica didn't know. I'd started watching carefully. Really carefully. That night I checked our family phone bill. Jessica had called Michael 19 times last month. 19 times. They usually talked maybe once a week. I opened my laptop and did something Robert taught me during his illness. He showed me about keeping records when people try to control your story. I made a file called Jessica Watch List. Every meeting she didn't invite me to. Every class she gave to younger teachers for efficiency reasons. Every comment about my age hidden as worry about my health. The pattern was obvious. Jessica wasn't worried about me. She wanted my position, my reading program, my reputation. But she made one big mistake. She thought a 61-year-old widow would just give up quietly. That grief made me weak. She was about to learn that quiet and weak are very different things. Because while Jessica played office games, I remembered something she forgot. In 33 years at Riverside Elementary, I didn't just teach children. I built something else. Something that would make this whole situation very interesting. But first I needed proof. Real proof. The kind that matters in school board meetings and courtrooms. Jessica wanted to play games. Fine. But she was about to discover that experience beats ambition every single time. Let me explain what Jessica's plan would cost me. When you understand the numbers, you know why staying quiet wasn't possible. First, the money hit. Forced retirement at 61 meant less pension money. $240,000 less over my lifetime. Just gone. The system punishes you for leaving before 65. Jessica knew this. But that was just the start. My reading program served 340 students every year. Parents specifically requested me. Families came to Riverside because of my reputation. When those families heard I was gone, how many would leave? Jessica thought she could just take over my program. Give it to teachers with new degrees and computer skills. She had no idea that teaching isn't about technology and charts. It's about trust. The Martinez family wouldn't trust someone new with their daughter who struggled to read. Neither would the Johnson family, whose son had dyslexia and needed special help. Or the Kim family, whose twins spoke Korean at home and needed patient English support. These weren't just students. They were relationships built over years. Phone calls to worried parents. Extra hours after school. Standing by families when other teachers gave up. But Jessica saw names on a computer screen. She thought loyalty was old-fashioned. Something from grandma's time. That's where she was wrong. There's something else Jessica didn't think about. The Christmas award ceremony at Riverside. If she could push me out before December 20th, she'd be positioned for my job. Reading program director. $65,000 more money every year plus bonuses. She wasn't just stealing my career. She was stealing my students to pay for her own future. Then there was Michael, my son. Watching him agree with Jessica's worries. Seeing him avoid looking at me during dinners. That hurt more than any money. Robert and I raised him to be honest. To have good character. But Jessica spent a year whispering in his ear. Convincing him that his old mom was stressed, overworked, maybe making mistakes. Mom needs to enjoy her retirement years, she'd say. She's given enough to that school. Retirement years. Like I was broken. Too old to matter. But here's what made this personal. Jessica started spreading worries about my teaching to parents. Careful questions during school events. How do you think Mrs. Patterson handles the stress of so many students? Have you noticed her seeming tired lately? She was poisoning the well. Step by step. Elena Rodriguez called me the week before Halloween. Mrs. Patterson, someone from the office asked about our happiness with your teaching. Is something wrong? That's when I knew for sure. Jessica wasn't just planning my exit. She was building reasons for it. Making a paper trail showing the school had real worries about my work. The math was simple. If I stayed quiet, I'd lose my pension money, lose my students, lose my reputation, and lose my son's respect because he'd think I just gave up. But if I fought back, that was dangerous. Jessica had office power. She could write down any conversation we had. Make any resistance look like proof of her point about my stress. Unless I had something she didn't expect. Which brings me to November 12th. The morning after I heard her midnight phone call. I made 3 calls that morning. 3 calls that changed everything. The first was to Sarah Mitchell, our school district lawyer. Sarah, I need to understand something about work rules. Hypothetically speaking. The second was to my old friend Dorothy Williams at Lincoln Elementary across town. Dorothy, who'd been trying to recruit me for 12 years. Dorothy, that job offer you mentioned. Tell me more details. The third call was most important. To a number I hadn't used in 18 years. Hello, Margaret. It's Rose Patterson. I need to discuss my partnership position at Riverside Elementary. Yes, it's time to make it official. Because here's what Jessica never knew. What nobody at the school knew except the original founders and the lawyers. When Riverside Elementary became a charter school in 1995, certain longtime teachers were offered the chance to become founding partners. Not many people had the money or the courage to invest their savings in the school where they worked. I did. 33 years of small investments. Never enough to require announcements. Never enough to get attention. But enough to matter. Enough to change everything. Jessica thought she was playing checkers with an old lady who didn't know the rules. She was about to discover she'd been playing a different game. And I owned the board. November 13th. I decided it was time for a talk. Jessica's office. Glass walls, expensive furniture, and that confidence that comes from thinking you control everything. "Rose," she said, looking up from her computer screen. "What can I do for you?" I sat down across from her desk, opened my notebook, the one I'd been keeping since September. "I want to discuss my teacher review." "Of course. I understand you might have concerns." September 20th. "You removed me from the Rodriguez twins reading group. Reason given: stress management." She nodded. "We discussed this." September 28th. "You gave the Henderson reading class to Miss Stevens. Reason: fresh ideas." "Rose, I'm not sure where this is going." October 3rd. "You didn't invite me to the quarterly curriculum meeting. Said I needed work-life balance." Jessica leaned back in her chair. That practiced smile. "Rose, these decisions were made for your benefit." October 15th. "You wrote concerns about my energy based on teacher feedback." "That's correct." "Which teachers?" "You know I can't share that information." I turned a page in my notebook. "Principal Henderson. I asked him yesterday. He said nobody contacted him about my work." Her smile disappeared for just a second. "Mrs. Chen." "Same answer. Said she'd happily recommend me any time." "Rose, I think you're misunderstanding." "Miss Stevens. The young teacher you gave the Henderson class to. She told me something interesting." I let that sit there. Jessica's confidence started cracking. "She said you asked her to write down any times I seemed confused or overwhelmed." Exact words. "We need to build a case for Rose's transition." Rose looked around nervously. "I never said that. Miss Stevens keeps excellent notes. Master's degree training, you know. Very detailed records." She was quiet, thinking. "Rose, I think there's been a misunderstanding. My job is to support everyone, including you." "What's that supposed to mean?" Closed my notebook. Looked straight at her. "Reading program director position opens if I leave before Christmas. $65,000 more money. Plus bonuses from program management." Jessica's face went pale. "You think this is about money?" "I think this is about opportunity. My opportunity becoming your opportunity." She stood up, walked to her window. When she turned back, the practiced smile was gone. "Rose, you're 61 years old. You've been through terrible loss. Working 60-hour weeks isn't healthy at any age, but especially not now. So this is medical advice. This is realistic advice. Teaching is changing. Computer programs, data tracking, online learning platforms. The skills that made you successful 30 years ago are different from what we need now." There it was. The real Jessica. No more gentle concern. Just ambition wrapped in business talk. Different how? "Rose, please don't make this harder than necessary. Answer the question." "Different how?" Jessica sat back down. Leaned forward. "Fine. You want honesty. Your way of teaching is inefficient. You spend hours on parent phone calls that could be emails. You resist our new computer programs. You question every change we try to make. I question programs that don't help kids. You question programs that threaten your control." The room went silent. She'd said too much and knew it. Control over what? Your little kingdom. Your special relationships. Your irreplaceable status. Smiled. Actually smiled. 'Cause Jessica just made this very easy. Irreplaceable. Rose, nobody is irreplaceable. Not in modern education. Interesting thought. I stood up. Picked up my notebook. "Jessica, I appreciate your honesty. Really. It makes things clear." "What does that mean?" "It means we understand each other now." I walked toward her office door. Up. Turned back. "One question. When you called Michael 19 times last month, did you discuss moving his mom to a retirement home?" Jessica froze. How did you? Phone records. Shared family plan. That's private. Family conversations about putting mom in a home. About managing her money when she's no longer capable. About the burden of caring for aging parents. Rose, you're twisting. November 11th. 11:43 at night. You were on the phone in my living room discussing my retirement package. Timeline. How I'd never see it coming. Jessica's face went white. That's impossible. You weren't home. I live there, Jessica. It's my house. She sat down hard. You have wonderful soundproofing in the living room. But the kitchen shares a wall. Sound travels. Rose, whatever you think you heard, was very clear. Crystal clear. I opened her office door. Jessica, thank you for this talk. It's been helpful. Where are you going with this? I looked back at her. Sitting behind that expensive desk. Surrounded by glass walls. Realizing her perfect plan had a witness. I'm going to do what 33 years of teaching taught me. Keep careful records. Check my facts. And make smart decisions based on truth. Rose, please. We're family. Yes, I said. We are. I left her office. Walked past the classrooms where younger teachers pretended not to watch. Past Principal Henderson's office where he looked concerned. Jessica thought she understood the game. Position. Politics. Power. But she forgot the most important rule in education. Always know who you're really dealing with. That afternoon, I took a trip I hadn't taken in 12 years. Downtown office building. 9th floor. The law offices of Mitchell and Associates. The lawyers who handled Riverside Elementary's charter school paperwork. Sarah Mitchell met me in the waiting area. 20 years older. Gray hair instead of brown. But the same sharp eyes that negotiated our founding agreements back in 1995. Rose Patterson. I wondered when I'd see you again. Her office was traditional. Wooden shelves. Comfortable chairs. Law books that actually got read. No glass walls. No modern furniture. Just solid lasting things. Sarah, I need to discuss my position at Riverside. She pulled a file from her cabinet. Bound in blue leather. I've been wondering when you'd want to make this official. Make what official? Sarah opened the file. Original paperwork. Partnership agreements. Investment records going back 33 years. Rose, you own 22% of Riverside Elementary Charter School. He nodded. Knew the number. Most people don't realize that makes you the largest individual founding partner. Most people don't need to know. But some people do. She looked at me over her reading glasses. Especially people who think they can force you out. I told her about Jessica. The reviews. The excluded meetings. The midnight phone call. Sarah listened. Made notes. Asked careful questions. Rose, what do you want to happen here? I want her to understand that actions have results. Legal results or professional results. Whatever results fit the actions. Sarah pulled out another folder. I've been tracking Riverside's personnel policies since Jessica arrived. Some interesting changes. She handed me papers. New teacher evaluation rules started 8 months ago. Notice anything. I read through them. Age-related language. Subtle but steady. Energy requirements. Adaptability to change. Long-term career planning. All written to sound fair but designed to target older teachers. Is that legal? It's borderline. The way it's used matters. If someone's using these rules selectively, then we have options. Sarah leaned back. Rose, I have to ask. Why now? You could have announced your partnership years ago. Made yourself untouchable. Because I never wanted to be the person who hid behind ownership to avoid responsibility. And now someone's trying to destroy my reputation to build their career. That's different. Sarah nodded. What about your son? That was the hard question. The one I'd been avoiding. Michael doesn't know about the partnership. Nobody in my family knows. Robert knew, but he's gone. This could hurt his marriage. His marriage is already hurt. He just doesn't see it yet. Sarah made another note. Rose, if we do this, there's no going back. Once you reveal your partnership position, everything changes. Your relationship with the school, with colleagues, with family, everything's already changed. I'm just catching up. She smiled. All right. Here's what we'll do. For the next hour, Sarah explained the legal framework. Partnership rights, board notification rules, documentation requirements. The key, she said, is timing. You reveal your position at exactly the right moment. Maximum impact. When's that? When Jessica makes her next move. And trust me, she will. People like her can't help themselves. They always push too far. I left Sarah's office with a briefcase full of papers. 33 years of investments, legal opinions, partnership agreements. But more than that, I left with clarity. Jessica thought she was playing a game where she had all the power, where office authority beat everything else. She had no idea that the quiet old teacher she was trying to push aside actually had the ability to reshape the entire school. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in months. I arrived at school early. Not because I was stressed or overworked. 'Cause I had work to do. Real work. The kind that would teach a very ambitious young woman the difference between position and power. November 20th. Annual Parent Appreciation Evening. Riverside Elementary's biggest social event of the year. 300 parents, teachers, community members. The kind of event where reputations are built or destroyed. I should have known it was coming. Jessica had been quiet since our talk. Too quiet. In my experience, when ambitious people go silent, they're planning something big. The event was held at the community center. Jessica had organized everything. She did wonderful work. I'll admit that. Perfect details. Smooth organization. Impressive setup. I was talking with parents I'd known for years. Mrs. Martinez was there with her daughter Sophia. Mrs. Johnson brought her son David. The Kim family came with their twins. Good conversations. Strong relationships. The kind Jessica thought were old-fashioned. Then Principal Henderson stepped to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Before we finish, I need to address something important. The room went quiet. This wasn't on the schedule. As you know, Riverside Elementary has always been built on relationships. Personal connections. Trust developed over years. I felt it coming. Whatever Jessica had planned, this was it. However, as education changes, we must sometimes make difficult choices about staff and leadership. My parents were looking at me now. Confused expressions. Worried glances. It's with mixed emotions that I announce Mrs. Rose Patterson will be transitioning to a consulting role effective January 1st. The room erupted. Not applause. Shocked murmurs. Angry voices. Rose has dedicated 33 years to this institution, Principal Henderson continued, reading from prepared notes. She's earned well-deserved rest. Mr. Martinez stood up. What does that mean? Transitioning. Mr. Martinez, please. Rose is the best teacher in this school. Why would you force her out? Mrs. Johnson joined in. This is ridiculous. Mrs. Patterson helped my son when everyone else gave up. Principal Henderson looked uncomfortable. These weren't his words. Everyone could tell. The decision has been made with Rose's best interests in mind. Her health. Her family situation. That's enough. My voice cut through the noise. The room went silent. I walked to the front. Took the microphone from Principal Henderson. Thank you, Mr. Henderson. But I think there's been a misunderstanding. I looked out at 300 faces. Parents who trusted me. Teachers who'd worked with me for decades. Community members who'd seen me build a program one student at a time. I haven't agreed to transition to anything. Jessica was standing near the refreshment table. Her face had gone pale. In fact, I haven't been asked about any changes to my position. Mr. Martinez called out. What's really going on here, Rose? What's going on, Mr. Martinez? is that someone decided my 33 years of experience was less valuable than their 2 years of modern ideas. I looked directly at Jessica. Someone decided that loyalty could be optimized away. That relationships were inefficient. That parents like you would be just as happy with newer staff who understand computer programs better than they understand children. Mrs. Johnson stood up. Is this about age discrimination? That's a strong word, Mrs. Johnson. But let me share some facts. Pulled out my notebook. The one I'd been keeping since September. In the past 9 weeks, I've been excluded from 14 parent meetings. Told it was for my own good. Stress management. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I've had 4 major classes reassigned. Students I'd worked with for years. Again, for my benefit. Mr. Martinez's face was red with anger. Who made these decisions? Our assistant principal, Jessica Patterson. All eyes turned to Jessica. She stepped forward. That practiced confidence back in place. Rose, this isn't the right place. You're right. The right place was a private conversation. But those don't seem to work. Jessica smiled for the crowd. Rose has been under tremendous stress since her husband's death. We're simply trying to support her through a difficult time. Stress, I repeated. Interesting diagnosis from someone with a business degree, not a medical degree. Rose, please. Tell me, Jessica. When you called my son 19 times last month, was that part of your professional assessment? The smile disappeared. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. I opened my notebook to a specific page. November 11th. 11:43 at night. You were on the phone in my living room discussing my retirement package with someone. Timeline. How I'd never see it coming. Jessica's face went white. That's a private conversation. In my house. About my career. Nothing private about it. The room was completely silent now. 300 people watching a very public confrontation. You told whoever you were talking to that Michael was finally on board. That by Christmas break I'd be gone. And you'd have a clear path to program director. Rose, you're misunderstanding. Am I? Because it sounds like you've been planning my departure while pretending to worry about my health. Mr. Martinez stood up again. Jessica, is this true? It's more complicated than yes or no. Mrs. Johnson called out. Have you been planning to force Rose out? Jessica looked around the room. 300 faces staring at her, waiting for an answer. Rose needs to think about her future. That's not what I asked, Mrs. Johnson said. Jessica's composure cracked. Education is changing. Rose's methods, while valuable in the past, aren't aligned with current needs. Whose needs? Mr. Martinez demanded. The school's needs. The students' needs. I'm a parent, Mr. Martinez said. Mrs. Patterson is exactly what my daughter needs. So am I, Mrs. Johnson added. This sounds like office politics. Jessica looked at Principal Henderson, pleading for help. Principal Henderson cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, I said. Jessica wanted to make this public. Let's make it public. I looked out at the crowd. My parents, my friends, people who trusted me for decades. Jessica believes that modern education means replacing relationships with processes, experience with computer programs, trust with efficiency. Closed my notebook. I believe that teaching is still about children, about keeping your promises, about standing by families when things get difficult. The applause started slowly. Mr. Martinez first, then Mrs. Johnson, then others. Within seconds, the entire room was clapping. So here's what I suggest, I said. Let the parents decide. If you want Jessica's modern approach, stay with Riverside. If you prefer the old-fashioned way, well, I smiled. I'll be making some announcements very soon. November 22nd, Emergency School Board Meeting. Principal Henderson called it after half our major families demanded explanations about the retirement announcement. Mr. Martinez threatened to remove Sophia. Mrs. Johnson asked for written guarantee that I'd remain her son's teacher. The boardroom felt different that morning. Long conference table. High-back chairs. Pictures of Riverside Elementary's founders on the walls. Usually I sat in the back during board meetings, taking notes on curriculum approvals. Today I sat at the table. "Rose," said Dr. Williams, our board chairwoman. "Thank you for joining us." Jessica was there too, sitting across from me, still confident but careful. She'd seen the parent reactions, knew her position was shakier than it had been 2 days earlier. "We need to address the situation from Saturday night," Dr. Williams continued. "The public confrontation was unfortunate." Principal Henderson shuffled his papers. "Rose, Jessica tells us you've been resistant to transition planning." "Transition to what?" "A consulting role. Reduced responsibilities. More time with family." "Who requested this transition?" Jessica leaned forward. "Rose, we've discussed your performance concerns." "Whose concerns specifically?" She hesitated. "Multiple stakeholders." "Names, Jessica. Give me names." "I can't violate confidentiality." "There is no confidentiality." Pulled out my notebook. "I contacted every person you claimed had concerns about my work. Principal Henderson, Mrs. Chen, Miss Stevens, Mr. Roberts, Mrs. Blake." I read from my notes. Principal Henderson said, quote, "Rose is the most dedicated teacher we have. Mrs. Chen said she'd happily support me for any recognition. Miss Stevens admitted you asked her to document signs of confusion or stress." Jessica's face was red. "Rose, you're taking things out of context." Mrs. Blake said something particularly interesting. She said you asked her whether she thought I was, quote, "becoming a liability to student outcomes." Dr. Williams frowned. "Jessica, is this accurate?" "I was conducting routine performance assessments. By asking teachers to spy on me?" "That's not what." "Then what would you call it?" The room went quiet. Board members exchanged glances. Dr. Williams cleared her throat. "Rose, what exactly are you requesting from this board?" "Transparency. If there are performance problems, document them properly. If there are concerns about my capabilities, address them directly. If someone wants my position, they should say so." Jessica stood up. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Rose is becoming paranoid. Defensive. Paranoid." I opened my briefcase. "Jessica, let me ask you something. How much do you know about Riverside Elementary's ownership structure?" "What does that have to do with anything?" "Humor me." She looked around the table. "Standard charter school structure. Board of directors. Founding partners. Management hierarchy. Who are the major partners?" "The Williams family holds majority control. The Henderson family. The Peterson Group." "What about individual partners? Non-founding members?" Jessica shrugged. "A few long-time teachers have profit-sharing options." "Profit-sharing options or actual ownership partnerships?" I'm not sure there's a difference for this discussion." Pulled out a folder. Blue leather binding. The one Sarah Mitchell had prepared. "Dr. Williams, I'd like to make a disclosure to the board." Dr. Williams looked confused. "What kind of disclosure?" "A partnership disclosure." The room went completely silent. I opened the folder. In 1995, when Riverside Elementary reorganized as a charter school, certain teachers were offered the opportunity to become founding partners. I handed Dr. Williams the first document. Partnership Certificate Number 0023. 8,000 shares purchased April 12, 1995. Dr. Williams's eyes widened. "Rose, this is Certificate 0067. 15,000 shares. September 1998. I handed her another document. Certificate 0104. 20,000 shares. January 2002. Jessica was staring at me. "What is this?" Certificate 0189. 40,000 shares. June 2009. Another document across the table. Certificate 0245. 25,000 shares. March 2015. Kept pulling documents. 33 years of investments. Certificate 0298. 35,000 shares. September 2020. Dr. Williams was adding numbers. Her face had gone pale. Rose, this totals 143,000 shares. 22% of the school. The room exploded. 22%. Principal Henderson stood up. Rose, that makes you the largest individual founding partner. Yes. Jessica looked like she'd been hit. That's impossible. You're just a teacher. I'm a teacher who believes in the institution where she works. Dr. Williams was studying the documents. These are all legitimate. Verified by Mitchell and Associates. Sarah Mitchell prepared the disclosure file. Why didn't you report this before? Because I never wanted to use ownership to influence operations. Until someone decided to use office authority to force me out. I looked directly at Jessica. You asked me about Riverside's ownership structure. Well, now you know. The quiet old teacher you've been pushing toward retirement. She owns a substantial piece of this school. Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. You've been hiding this for 33 years. I've been building this for 33 years. Every bonus, every extra payment, every small raise. Instead of buying fancy things, I bought ownership in the school I believed in. Dr. Williams looked around the table. Board members, I think we need to discuss this disclosure and what it means. Before you do, I said, there's something else. Pulled out my phone. Jessica, remember our conversation on November 13th in your office? Her face went white. You didn't. North Carolina allows recording with one person's consent. Played the audio. Jessica's voice. Crystal clear. Your little kingdom. Your special relationships. Your irreplaceable status. Nobody is irreplaceable. Not in modern education. Then my voice. Interesting thought. I stopped the recording. I have 16 similar recordings. All legal. All documenting systematic attempts to undermine my position based on age-related assumptions. Dr. Williams set down her pen. Jessica, I think we need to hear your response to these allegations. Jessica looked around the table. Board members staring at her. Documents spread across the table. Audio evidence of her own words. This is taken out of context. Context or control? Dr. Williams asked. Education requires modern leadership. Define modern. Jessica's composure finally shattered. She's 61 years old. She uses paper gradebooks. She spends hours on parent calls. She questions every computer program. She's blocking progress. Whose progress? The school's progress. Or your progress? Silence. Dr. Williams looked at me. Rose, what outcome are you seeking? Respect, transparency, and accountability. I stood up. Jessica wanted to force me into retirement because she thought I was powerless. An old teacher with outdated methods and no leverage. I gestured to the documents on the table. She was wrong about the leverage. The board meeting ended with Jessica's resignation. Not immediately. Dr. Williams is too professional for instant dismissals. But the message was clear. And Jessica could read it. I'll need 2 weeks to transition my responsibilities, she said. 1 week, Dr. Williams replied. Effective immediately. Rose Patterson resumes full authority over her reading program. Jessica left the boardroom without looking at me. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But what came next was the real consequence. November 24th. My phone started ringing at 7 a.m. Rose, it's Sarah Mitchell from legal. We need to talk. Sarah had been investigating Jessica's files since the board meeting. What she found was worse than I'd imagined. Rose, she documented every interaction with you. Every meeting, every conversation, every parent contact. But she also documented something else. Sarah spread files across my desk. Performance evaluations for 8 other teachers over 55. All showing sudden declines in ratings after Jessica arrived. I looked through the files. Mrs. Chen, our math teacher, marked as resistant to data-driven instruction. Mr. Roberts, senior science teacher, concerns about long-term strategic alignment. It's a pattern, Sarah said. Age-related performance concerns across multiple staff members. Legal action. Solid case for systematic age discrimination. But it gets worse. She pulled out another file. Jessica's email correspondence with Brookfield Academy, a private school in Raleigh. I read the emails. Jessica had been discussing modernization opportunities at Riverside Elementary. Specifically the reading program director position that would open when I was forced out. She had a job lined up. Director of curriculum at Brookfield. $95,000 base salary. She was using our situation as a stepping stone. That afternoon I called Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez, can you meet me for coffee? There's something I need to discuss. We met at the Corner Cafe, the coffee shop where we'd first talked about Sophia's reading challenges 4 years ago. Mr. Martinez ordered his usual black coffee and blueberry muffin. Mrs. Patterson, what happened at that board meeting? I told him everything. The recordings, the partnership ownership, Jessica's systematic plan. Mr. Martinez listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. So you own 22% of the school? I do. And this Jessica woman was trying to force you out to advance her own career. She was. Mr. Martinez shook his head. You know what makes me angriest? She thought we were stupid. What do you mean? She thought we'd just accept whoever they assigned. Like loyalty doesn't matter. Like 4 years of helping Sophia doesn't count for anything. He leaned forward. Mrs. Patterson, I've got something to tell you. After Saturday night, Mrs. Johnson and I started making phone calls. What kind of calls? To other parents. People whose kids you've helped. Parents who chose Riverside because of you. Mr. Martinez pulled out a sheet of paper. We've got commitments from 23 families. If Jessica had succeeded in forcing you out, we were all leaving the school. I looked at the list. 48 students total. You organized this. Mrs. Johnson organized it. I just made some calls. Mr. Martinez smiled. She's tougher than both of us combined. The next morning I found Principal Henderson in his office. Mr. Henderson, we need to discuss Jessica's replacement. He looked exhausted. The past week had aged him. Rose, I owe you an apology. I should have seen what was happening. You trusted your assistant principal. That's reasonable. I nearly cost us our best teacher and half our families. Nearly. But you didn't. Principal Henderson leaned back in his chair. The board wants to offer you the reading program director position. Jessica's job plus teaching responsibilities. I appreciate that. But I have a different suggestion. I pulled out a proposal I'd been working on. Promote Mrs. Chen to assistant principal. She's earned it. Create a new position. Senior reading specialist. That's what I want to do. What would that involve? What I've always done. Teach children. Build relationships. Help families overcome challenges. Just with a title that reflects the value. Principal Henderson read through my proposal. This actually makes sense. Separate educational leadership from administrative functions. And Mr. Henderson, I want final approval authority on any personnel policies that affect teaching staff. He looked up. You want veto power. I want oversight authority. As a 22% founding partner, I think that's reasonable. Principal Henderson smiled for the first time in days. Rose, you've been holding cards we didn't even know existed. The best cards are the ones people don't expect. That evening I had dinner with Michael and Jessica. The conversation I'd been dreading. They sat across from me at the kitchen table. Jessica looked smaller somehow. defeated. "Mom," Michael said, "Jessica told me what happened." "What did she tell you?" "That she misunderstood your situation. That she thought she was helping." I looked at Jessica. "Is that what you told him?" She nodded. Couldn't meet my eyes. "Jessica, Michael deserves the truth." "Mom, what truth?" I told him everything. The midnight conversation. The systematic undermining. The career advancement plan. Michael listened in silence. When I finished, he turned to Jessica. "Is this accurate?" She was crying now. I thought it would be better for everyone." "Better how?" "If Rose retired, she could enjoy her remaining years. You wouldn't worry about her working so hard. And I could build a career that would secure our family's future." By destroying her career. I didn't see it that way. Michael stood up, walked to the window. When he turned back, his face was hard. "Jessica, I think you should stay at your sister's tonight." "Michael, please. We'll talk tomorrow. But right now I need to think about this." After Jessica left, Michael and I sat in the kitchen. 2 hours of difficult conversation. "Mom, I'm sorry. I should have seen what was happening." She's very persuasive. And she played on real concerns. About you getting older. About change. About being left behind. Michael nodded. "Those are real fears." "They are. But fear doesn't justify manipulation." "What happens now?" "With Jessica, I mean. That's between you and her. But Michael, whatever you decide, make sure it's based on who she really is. Not who she pretended to be." He left around 9 o'clock. I sat in my kitchen, looking at the spot where I'd stood 12 days earlier. Listening to a conversation that changed everything. Sometimes people reveal exactly who they are when they think no one's listening. Sometimes the quiet ones are just gathering evidence. And sometimes the best response is simply revealing the truth. The consequences unfolded exactly as they should have. Jessica's resignation became effective November 30th. By December 5th, she'd withdrawn her application to Brookfield Academy. Word travels fast in education circles, especially when it involves employment law violations. Sarah Mitchell's investigation uncovered systematic age discrimination affecting 9 staff members. The legal department recommended settlements to avoid court cases. Total cost to Riverside Elementary: $380,000. Jessica's severance was reduced to 1 week's pay. No recommendation letter. No positive references. But the real consequence was more personal. Michael filed for separation on December 18th. I found out when he showed up at my house that evening. Suitcase in his car. "Mom, can I stay here for a while?" "Of course." "What happened?" "We talked until midnight." Jessica had spent 2 weeks trying to justify her actions. Blaming me for trapping her. Claiming I'd manipulated the situation. Insisting she'd been trying to help. "She actually said you forced her hand by hiding your partnership ownership," Michael told me. "How did I force her to plan my retirement without asking me?" "That's exactly what I said." Michael rubbed his forehead. "Mom, I keep thinking about all those phone calls. 19 times in 1 month. She was building a case against you. And I was helping. You didn't know. I should have known. You're my mother. I should have trusted you over someone I'd known for 5 years." The divorce proceedings started in January. Jessica hired an aggressive lawyer who tried to claim financial fraud. Rose Patterson concealed assets that affect the marital estate, her lawyer argued. Sarah Mitchell handled our response. Rose Patterson's partnership ownership predates this marriage by 18 years. Her investment decisions were made with her own earnings. Not community property. Jessica's attorney pushed harder. "The concealment suggests a pattern of financial manipulation within the family." "Or," Sarah replied, "it suggests a conservative investor who preferred building wealth to showing off." The case fell apart when Jessica's attorney discovered the timeline. Every partnership purchase documented. Every payment traced to Rose's personal earnings. No community funds involved. Jessica's demand for spousal support was denied. Her claim on Michael's inheritance prospects was dismissed. But the most satisfying consequence was professional. By February, word had spread throughout the education community. Jessica Patterson, the ambitious assistant principal who tried to force out a major founding partner. The master's degree holder who thought experience was worthless. Her job applications were politely declined. For different schools. 2 private academies. Even an education consulting firm passed on her resume. Overqualified, they said. Not a good cultural fit. In March, I heard she'd taken a position with a tutoring center in Asheville. $38,000 a year. Entry-level responsibilities. A 3-year detour that cost her everything she'd been trying to achieve. Meanwhile, Riverside Elementary was thriving. My new title, Senior Reading Specialist, came with authority I'd never had before. Final approval on any policy affecting teaching methods. Input on hiring decisions for educational staff. Mrs. Chen made an excellent assistant principal. She implemented computer improvements that actually helped efficiency without sacrificing relationships. The difference, she told me, is asking teachers what they need instead of telling them what's modern. By April, we'd enrolled 18 new students. Word spreads when schools respect their experienced teachers. Parents like working with institutions that value wisdom. Mr. Martinez brought us his nephew's family. Mrs. Johnson referred 2 families from her church. The Kim family convinced 3 Korean-speaking families to choose Riverside. Total new enrollment. 34 students. Principal Henderson was delighted. Rose, your situation turned into the best advertising we could have asked for. How do you mean? Loyalty. Integrity. Standing by our people. Those are powerful messages to parents. But the most important consequence was personal. Michael and I rebuilt our relationship. Slowly, carefully, but genuinely. He moved back to his own apartment in May. But we had dinner every Sunday. Real conversations. No Jessica mediating, interpreting, or manipulating. Mom, he said one evening, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Why didn't you tell me about the partnership ownership? All those years you never mentioned it. Thought about that. Because I never wanted our relationship to be about money. But it's impressive. What you built. What's impressive is that you turned out to be a good man despite having a parent who wasn't always perfect. Michael smiled. Dad was pretty close to perfect. Your father was extraordinary. But even he made mistakes. Like what? Like worrying too much about whether we were giving you everything you needed. When what you needed most was to see parents who loved each other, worked hard, and kept their promises. You did show me that. We tried. In June, Jessica reached out through Michael's lawyer. She wanted to apologize, to explain her actions, to ask for forgiveness. Michael asked what I thought he should do. That's your decision. But if you do meet with her, remember something. What's that? Apologies don't undo consequences. They're just words. Judge her by her actions, not her explanations. Michael met with Jessica once. He came home quiet. Thoughtful. How did it go? She's still blaming circumstances. Still claiming she thought she was helping. Do you believe her? I believe she believes it. But that's not the same thing. Michael looked at me. Mom, I learned something important from all this. What's that? Family loyalty isn't automatic. Has to be earned. And it can be lost. Yes, it can. By Christmas. Exactly 1 year after Jessica's planned timeline for my departure, Riverside Elementary reported record enrollment. Parent satisfaction scores reached all-time highs. Teacher retention improved dramatically. The board voted me a special recognition award. Not because I'm a founding partner. Because I'd helped the school avoid a catastrophic mistake. What mistake? I asked Dr. Williams. Confusing change with improvement. Mistaking ambition for competence. Nearly losing our institutional knowledge to someone who thought wisdom was old-fashioned. That night I sat in my kitchen. The same spot where I'd overheard a conversation that changed everything. Sometimes people reveal exactly who they are when they think no one's listening. Sometimes the quiet ones are just gathering evidence. And sometimes the best response is simply living well. Today, 18 months later, my life looks different than Jessica ever imagined. I'm still at Riverside Elementary. Still teaching children who need patience and understanding. Still proving that experience and wisdom have a place in modern education. But I've established new boundaries. No more tolerating disrespect disguised as concern. No more allowing ambitious people to weaponize my kindness against me. No more assuming that family loyalty is unconditional. Michael learned similar lessons. He's dating again. A librarian named Rachel who values honesty over strategy. She's met me 4 times and never once suggested I should consider retirement. She's different, Michael told me last month. How so? She asks questions instead of making assumptions. She listens instead of planning. That's wisdom earned the hard way. Jessica, I heard, is engaged to an accountant in Asheville. Someone who doesn't know her history. Someone who sees her master's degree and assumes competence. I hope it works out. Everyone deserves a chance to learn from their mistakes. But I've learned something too. Quiet strength isn't the same as weakness. Experience isn't outdated. It's just harder to fake. And sometimes the person everyone underestimates is exactly the person you shouldn't cross. My parents understand this. Mr. Martinez still calls me for advice. Even about his older daughter who's now in high school. Mrs. Johnson asked me to speak at a parent workshop about building strong homeschool partnerships. Mrs. Patterson, she said, you proved something important. That loyalty goes both ways. When someone stands by their families, families stand by them. The Kim family invited me to their home for Lunar New Year dinner. 3 generations around one table. Sharing stories about perseverance and family values. Mrs. Patterson, their youngest daughter, asked, why do you think that lady tried to make you retire? Because she thought position was more important than relationships. Was she wrong? What do you think? She looked around the table at her family. I think relationships are everything. Smart girl. You'll do well in whatever you choose to do. These days, I mentor new teachers who join Riverside Elementary. Not about computers or data tracking. They learn that in college. About judgment. About reading families. About keeping your word even when it's inconvenient. Mrs. Patterson, one recent graduate asked, how do you know when someone's trustworthy? Watch what they do when they think no one's paying attention. And if they're not trustworthy, document everything. Verify your facts. And remember that sometimes the best response is patience. That's the lesson Jessica taught me, though she never intended to. Sometimes people reveal their true character when they feel powerful. Sometimes ambition overrides judgment. Sometimes the person who seems to have all the advantages actually holds the weakest hand. Last week, Dr. Williams announced her retirement. The board asked me to consider the chairwoman position. I declined. I like what I do. Teaching children. Building relationships. Helping families overcome challenges. What about you, Rose? I'm exactly where I belong. Because here's what I've learned in 63 years. Success isn't about climbing ladders or collecting titles. It's about doing work that matters with people you respect. It's about building something lasting instead of just building your resume. It's about understanding that quiet strength beats loud ambition every single time. Jessica thought she was playing chess with someone who didn't understand the rules. She was right about one thing. I don't play by her rules. Play by older rules. Better rules. Rules that value character over cleverness. Relationships over transactions. Wisdom over information. Rules that build things instead of just taking them. If you're facing something similar, someone trying to push you aside, dismiss your experience, or steal what you've built, remember this story. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And never underestimate the power of patient preparation. Sometimes the quiet ones aren't just gathering evidence. Sometimes they're gathering strength. And sometimes that makes all the difference. 3 months ago, something unexpected happened. I received a letter. Handwritten. Postmarked from Asheville. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity won. Dear Mrs. Patterson, it began. You don't owe me anything. Not your time. Not your forgiveness. Not even reading this letter. But I need to write it anyway. I've spent 18 months trying to understand what I did. Not the surface explanation. The real truth underneath. I was jealous. He said it. Jealous of a 61-year-old teacher. Sounds ridiculous. But it's true. You had something I wanted desperately. Not your job. Not your salary. Not even your position. You had respect. Real respect. The kind that can't be demanded or manufactured. Parents trusted you. Teachers admired you. Students loved you. And I thought I could take that. Package it. Make it mine through position and authority. I told myself I was modernizing. Improving. Making necessary changes. But I was really just trying to steal something that can't be stolen. I destroyed my marriage. My career. My reputation. And for what? Because I couldn't see that respect is earned, not taken. The letter continued for 3 pages. Detailed. Honest. Painful. I don't expect forgiveness, she concluded. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I understand now what I didn't understand then. Experience isn't the enemy of progress. Wisdom isn't outdated. And quiet strength is the most powerful force in the world. Hope you're well. I hope Riverside continues to thrive. And I hope that someday, maybe years from now, I'll have built something worth respecting. Not by taking it from someone else, but by earning it myself. Jessica. I read that letter 3 times. Showed it to Michael. What are you going to do? He asked. What do you think I should do? That's not fair, Mom. This is your decision. I thought about it for a week. Finally, I sat down and wrote a response. Dear Jessica, thank you for your letter. Took courage to write it. Real courage, not the fake kind that comes from position or power. You're right. You can't steal respect. You can't manufacture wisdom. You can't shortcut your way to something that takes decades to build. But here's what you can do. You can learn. You can grow. You can become someone worth respecting. Not by copying someone else, but by developing your own integrity. Forgive you. Not because you asked for it. Not because you deserve it. But because holding on to anger only hurts the person carrying it. And I'm done carrying things that don't serve me. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means acknowledging what was, learning from it, and moving forward. I hope you build something meaningful. I hope you learn to value people over positions. And I hope that someday, when you're my age, you'll be able to look back and see that this painful detour actually taught you something important. Good luck, Jessica. Rose Patterson. I mailed that letter on a Tuesday. Never heard back. But that's okay. Some conversations don't need responses. Some lessons are learned in silence. Life at Riverside continued. More students. More families. More relationships built one conversation at a time. Mrs. Martinez's daughter Sophia graduated from 5th grade in June. Reading at grade level. Confident. Smiling. Mrs. Patterson, Sophia said at the graduation ceremony, thank you for not giving up on me. I would never give up on you, sweetie. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. That's what teaching is. Standing by people when it's difficult. When progress is slow. When others would walk away. Mr. Johnson's son David received an award for academic improvement. His reading scores jumped 2 grade levels in 1 year. Mrs. Patterson did this, Mrs. Johnson told the crowd. She saw something in David that we'd stopped seeing. Potential. I just reminded him of what was already there. The Kim twins, both reading fluently in English now, performed a thank you song at the spring concert. Their parents brought me flowers. You changed our family's life, Mrs. Kim said through happy tears. You gave our daughters confidence. Your daughters did the work. I just provided the encouragement. But the most meaningful moment came in August. Start of the new school year. I was setting up my classroom, arranging books, preparing materials, creating a welcoming space. A knock on my door. Mrs. Patterson. I turned around. A young woman, mid-20s, professional clothes, nervous smile. Yes, my name is Amanda Stevens. I'm the new second-grade teacher. And I wanted to introduce myself. We shook hands. Welcome to Riverside, Amanda. Thank you. I'm excited but terrified. She laughed. I've heard so much about you. Don't believe everything you hear. Actually, everything I've heard has been wonderful. The parents specifically asked if I'd be working with you. They said you're the reason they chose this school. Smiled. The parents are very kind. Mrs. Patterson, can I ask you something? Of course. How do you do it? Build those relationships. Earn that trust. They teach us theory in college, but not this. I thought about that question. The same question I'd been asking myself for 33 years. Amanda, can I show you something? I walked to my desk, pulled out a folder. The blue leather one. Partnership certificate spanning 3 decades. This is how you build trust. One investment at a time. Not just money. Energy. You invest in people. In families. In children. You show up even when it's hard. You keep promises even when it's inconvenient. You stand by students even when progress is slow. And over time, investment by investment, year by year, you build something that can't be taken away. Amanda looked at the certificates. You own part of the school. I do. But that's not the point. What is the point? The point is that real wealth isn't measured in ownership percentages. It's measured in relationships. In trust. In the number of lives you've touched. Amanda smiled. Can I ask you something else? Anything. Would you mentor me? Teach me how to be the kind of teacher you are. I looked at this young woman. Eager. Nervous. Hopeful. Reminded me of myself 33 years ago. Amanda, I'd be honored. We spent that afternoon talking. About teaching. About families. About patience and persistence. About the difference between modern methods and timeless principles. It's not about rejecting technology, I explained. It's about remembering that education is fundamentally about human connection. Computers are tools. Programs are resources. But relationships are everything. Amanda took notes. Questions. Listen carefully. Mrs. Patterson, why are you telling me all this? Sharing your experience. Because that's what experience is for. Not hoarding. Not protecting. Sharing. Passing forward. Making sure the next generation doesn't have to learn everything from scratch. That conversation reminded me why I teach. Not just children. But teachers. Not just lessons. But principles. Not just information. But wisdom. In September, Principal Henderson called me into his office. Rose, we need to discuss something. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Too right. I sat down. I'm confused. We have a waiting list. A waiting list. 83 families want to enroll at Riverside. Specifically because of you. Because of your program. Because of your reputation. That's wonderful. It's overwhelming. We can't accommodate that many new students. So what do we do? Principal Henderson leaned back. The board wants to expand. A wing. Hire 4 new teachers. Create a model reading program that other schools can learn from. And they want you to design it. Let it. Build it. Thought about that. The opportunity. The challenge. The legacy. Mr. Henderson, I'm 63 years old. This sounds like a 5-year project. Exactly. You want me to commit to 5 more years. I want you to commit to building something that lasts 50 years. We'll hire teachers. You'll train them. They'll carry forward what you've built. Your methods. Your principles. Your approach. What about Jessica's concerns? About modern methods? About technology? Principal Henderson smiled. Jessica was wrong about a lot of things. But here's what she was most wrong about. She thought experience and innovation were opposites. They're not. You've been innovating for 33 years. Just not the way she recognized. I walked back to my classroom. Thought about that offer. 5 more years. Building something lasting. Training teachers. Creating a legacy. That evening I called Michael. Honey, I need your advice. About what? I explained the school's offer. The expansion. Program. The commitment. What do you think I should do? Michael was quiet for a moment. Mom, do you remember what you told me about Dad? Which thing? When he was sick. When the doctors said he had 6 months. You said he told you he wasn't done yet. That he had more to give. More to build. I remembered. He said life isn't measured in time. It's measured in impact. Exactly. So let me ask you, are you done? Or do you have more to give? I thought about Amanda. About the 83 families on the waiting list. About the opportunity to train teachers. To build something lasting. I'm not done. Then you have your answer. I accepted the school's offer the next day. 5-year commitment. Program expansion. Teacher training. Legacy building. Dr. Williams shook my hand. Rose, this is going to change education in this district. That's ambitious. You're ambitious. You just hide it better than Jessica did. I laughed. What's the difference between her ambition and mine? She wanted to climb. You want to build. She wanted to take. You want to give. She wanted recognition. You want impact. That's a generous interpretation. It's an accurate interpretation. The expansion project started in October. Architects. Contractors. Plans. The new wing would include 6 classrooms. A reading resource center. Teacher training facilities. Mr. Martinez's construction company won the bid. Mrs. Patterson, I'm honored to build this for you. You're building it for the children, Mr. Martinez. I'm building it because you stood by my daughter when she struggled. This is my way of saying thank you. Construction took 8 months. During that time I worked with Amanda and 3 other young teachers. Training sessions. Classroom observations. Feedback conversations. Teaching isn't about having all the answers, I explained. It's about asking the right questions. Not why can't this child read? But, how can I help this child discover their own ability? Teachers took notes, practiced, learned. By April they were ready. Not perfect, but ready. The new wing opened in May. Ribbon cutting ceremony. Parents, teachers, students, community members. Dr. Williams gave a speech. This wing represents more than expansion. It represents a commitment to timeless principles in modern education. Experience meeting innovation. Wisdom guiding progress. She turned to me. Rose Patterson has shown us that the best way to honor the past is to invest in the future. Thank you, Rose. The applause was overwhelming. But the most meaningful moment came after the ceremony. A mother approached me, young, nervous, holding a little boy's hand. Mrs. Patterson, my name is Jennifer. This is my son Marcus. We just moved here from Charlotte. I heard about your program. About what you do. Welcome to Riverside, Jennifer. Marcus struggles with reading. The schools in Charlotte said he might have learning disabilities. That he'd probably never read at grade level. I knelt down. Looked at Marcus. Hi, Marcus. Do you like stories? He nodded shyly. What kind of stories? Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are excellent. Did you know that reading is like being a dinosaur detective? You look at clues and figure out what they mean. Marcus's eyes lit up. Really? Really? Want to try? I spent 20 minutes with Marcus. Simple words. Picture books. Encouragement. By the end he was reading basic sentences. Jennifer was crying. How did you do that? I didn't do anything. Marcus did the work. I just showed him he could. The teachers in Charlotte said. The teachers in Charlotte were wrong. Marcus doesn't have a learning disability. He has a confidence disability. We can fix that. Jennifer enrolled Marcus the next day. Within 3 months, he was reading at grade level. Within 6 months, above grade level. That's what this work is about. One child at a time. One family at a time. One success at a time. In September, 1 year after accepting the expansion project, I received another unexpected letter. Not from Jessica this time. From Brookfield Academy, the private school where Jessica had applied. Dear Mrs. Patterson, my name is Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, head of school at Brookfield Academy. I'm writing to request your assistance with a situation we're facing. 18 months ago, we considered a candidate for our director of curriculum position. Her resume was impressive. Master's degree. Modern approaches. Strong interview. We were prepared to hire her. Then we received a phone call from a colleague in the education community, warning us about systematic age discrimination at her previous position. We conducted additional background checks. Discovered the truth. We didn't hire her. But more importantly, that conversation made us examine our own practices. We realized we'd been falling into the same trap. Valuing degrees over experience. Innovation over wisdom. Modern methods over proven principles. The letter continued. We've spent the past year restructuring our approach. Creating mentorship programs. Pairing experienced teachers with newer staff. Valuing institutional knowledge. The results have been remarkable. Parent satisfaction is up. Teacher retention is up. Student outcomes are improving. And it's all because of a conversation that started with your situation. Mrs. Patterson, would you be willing to consult with our school? Share your approach. Help us build something similar to what you've created at Riverside. We would compensate you generously for your time and expertise. I showed the letter to Principal Henderson. What do you think? I think you've started something bigger than one school. Should I do it? Rose, that's your decision. But consider this. You've proven that experience and wisdom matter. That relationships are irreplaceable. That quiet strength changes everything. Don't you think other schools need to learn that lesson? I agreed to consult. 1 Saturday per month. No interference with my teaching responsibilities. Just sharing what I'd learned over 33 years. The first session was in October. 40 teachers, administrators, board members, all listening to a 63-year-old reading teacher talk about education. The problem with modern education, I began, isn't technology. Technology is wonderful. The problem is assuming that new automatically means better. Some things are timeless. Patience, encouragement, individual attention, personal relationships. These don't become outdated. They become more valuable as everything else speeds up. Shared stories. Marcus and his dinosaur detective work. Sophia and her reading breakthrough. David and his academic award. The Kim twins and their confidence. Notice what these stories have in common. Not technology. Not innovative programs. Not modern methods. Relationships. Trust. Individual attention. Time. A young teacher raised her hand. But Mrs. Patterson, we're told we need to do more with less. More students. Less time. How do we build relationships when we're overwhelmed? By remembering that relationships aren't extra. They're essential. They're not what you do after you finish teaching. They are teaching. The session lasted 3 hours. Could have gone 6. Teachers asked questions, shared challenges, discussed solutions. Dr. Morrison thanked me afterward. Rose, you've given us language for something we felt but couldn't articulate. Permission to value what we knew mattered. I didn't give you permission. I just reminded you that you already had it. That consulting work grew. Brookfield referred me to 2 other schools. Those schools referred me to 3 more. By January, I was consulting with 8 schools across North Carolina. Always on Saturdays. Never interfering with my primary work at Riverside. But spreading the message. Experience matters. Wisdom is valuable. Relationships are irreplaceable. In February, something unexpected happened. Michael called. Excited. Mom, you need to see this. See what? Check your email. The education department. State level. I opened my laptop. Found the email. Subject line. North Carolina Education Excellence Award. Dear Mrs. Rose Patterson, on behalf of the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, I'm pleased to inform you that you've been selected as a recipient of the Education Excellence Award. This award recognizes educators who demonstrate outstanding commitment to students, innovative approaches to timeless principles, and significant impact on their communities. The award ceremony will be held in Raleigh on March 15th. We hope you'll be able to attend. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. I read it 3 times. State-level award. Mom. Michael's voice on the phone. Are you there? I'm here. I'm just surprised. Surprised. Mom, you've transformed 8 schools. Trained dozens of teachers. Changed hundreds of lives. Why would you be surprised? Because I was just doing my job. No, Mom. You were doing something much bigger. You just didn't realize it. The award ceremony was overwhelming. Governor's office. Formal presentation. Speech. Me in a dress I bought specifically for the occasion. Standing at a podium in front of 300 people. I'm not comfortable with awards, I began. I'm a teacher. We don't do this work for recognition. We do it because it matters. Because children matter. Because families matter. Because education is the foundation of everything else. I looked out at the crowd. Saw Michael. Saw Principal Henderson. Saw Dr. Williams. Saw Amanda and my other ments. But if this award represents anything, I hope it represents a simple truth. Experience isn't the enemy of progress. Wisdom isn't outdated. And the quiet people who show up every day, do the work, build relationships, they're the ones who change the world. Not through dramatic gestures. Through consistent commitment. One student at a time. One family at a time. One day at a time. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. But the most meaningful moment came afterward. In the reception hall, a woman approached me. Late 30s. Professional. Familiar somehow. Mrs. Patterson. You probably don't remember me. I looked closer. Sarah Martinez. She smiled. Yes. I was Sophia's older sister. You taught me 4th grade reading 28 years ago. Of course I remember. How are you? I'm a teacher now. Elementary school in Durham. And I wanted to thank you. For what? For showing me what teaching could be. You made me feel valued. Capable. Smart for showing me what teaching could be. You made me feel valued. Capable. Smart. Even when I struggled. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I became a teacher because of you. And now I try to be for my students what you were for me. Sarah, that's the greatest compliment anyone could give. Mrs. Patterson, there's something else. My daughter starts kindergarten next year. And we're moving to be in Riverside's district. Because I want her to learn in a school that values what you value. That conversation reminded me why this work matters. Not just for the children we teach today. For the teachers they become tomorrow. For the parents they'll be someday. For the ripple effects that spread across generations. In March, Michael announced he was engaged. To Rachel, the librarian. They'd been dating for 14 months. Mom, I want to ask your blessing. You have it, honey. Rachel is wonderful. She's different from Jessica in every way that matters. I know. Michael hesitated. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think I'm making the same mistake twice? Trusting someone who might hurt me. I thought carefully about my answer. Michael, fear of being hurt shouldn't stop you from loving. But wisdom from being hurt should help you choose better. Do you trust Rachel? I do. Not because you want to. Because she's earned it. Yes, she's consistent, honest, supportive. She encourages me to maintain my relationship with you. She doesn't try to control or manipulate. Then you're not making the same mistake. You're making an informed choice. That's different. The wedding was in June. Small ceremony. Close friends and family. I sat in the front row. Watched my son marry a woman who valued honesty and kindness. Rachel's vows included something that made me cry. Michael, I promise to respect the people who made you who you are. Your mother taught you integrity. Your father taught you honor. I promise to honor those lessons by living them myself. After the ceremony, Rachel pulled me aside. Mrs. Patterson, I have something for you. She handed me a wrap box. What's this? Open it. Inside was a leather-bound journal. Engraved on the cover, Lessons from Rose Patterson, a teaching legacy. Opened it. Blank pages. I don't understand. I want you to write down everything you've learned. Your teaching philosophy. Your methods. Your stories. So that someday when I'm a mother, I can share these lessons with my children. So that your wisdom doesn't die with your generation. Hugged her. This woman I barely knew but already loved. Rachel, thank you. Thank you for raising a man worth marrying. And for showing me what strength looks like. That summer I started writing. Not every day. Not lengthy sessions. But consistently. Early mornings before school. Weekend afternoons. Quiet evenings. Writing down 33 years of lessons learned. The journal filled slowly. Teaching isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Children don't remember every lesson. They remember how you made them feel. Trust is built in small moments. Consistency. Earnestness. Showing up. Experience doesn't mean doing the same thing for 30 years. It means learning something new from 30 years of doing things. Wisdom isn't knowing all the answers. It's knowing which questions to ask. By August, I'd filled 200 pages. Stories, principles, hard-won insights. Amanda asked if she could read it. Mrs. Patterson, this should be published. It's just personal reflections. It's more than that. It's a teaching manual. Guide. A testament to what education should be. I hadn't considered publication. But Amanda was persistent. She showed the journal to Dr. Morrison at Brookfield. Dr. Morrison showed it to a friend in educational publishing. By September I had a book deal. Teaching from the Heart. Lessons in Education and Life. The publisher wanted to rush it. Have it ready for the next school year. Mrs. Patterson, teachers everywhere need this. Especially young teachers who are getting lost in standardized testing and digital platforms. They need to remember why they chose this profession. The book published in March. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few copies sold. Some interest from local teachers. Instead, it became required reading in 3 teacher education programs. Recommended by 4 state education departments. Featured in educator magazines and blogs. By May, it had sold 40,000 copies. Teachers across the country were reading my words. Implementing my principles. Sharing my stories. I received letters. Hundreds of them. Dear Mrs. Patterson, I was about to quit teaching. Your book reminded me why I started. Thank you. I've been teaching for 15 years and lost my way. Your words brought me back to my purpose. I'm a first-year teacher. Overwhelmed and discouraged. Your book gave me hope that I can actually do this. Each letter reminded me that this work matters. Not just in one classroom. Not just in one school. Across the entire profession. In June, the State Education Department invited me to keynote their annual teacher conference. 5,000 teachers. The largest gathering in North Carolina. I stood on that stage. Looked out at 5,000 faces. Teachers who'd chosen the hardest, most important work in the world. I'm 64 years old, I began. I've been teaching for 34 years. And I'm still learning. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. People ask me what's changed in education during my career. Everything and nothing. Technology has changed. Methods have changed. Standards have changed. But the heart of teaching, that hasn't changed at all. It's still about seeing potential in every child. It's still about refusing to give up when progress is slow. It's still about building relationships that help children become their best selves. 2 years ago, someone tried to force me into retirement, told me I was outdated, that my methods were inefficient, that experience was less valuable than innovation. She was wrong. Not because innovation doesn't matter, does, but because she made a fundamental mistake. She thought experience and innovation were opposites. They're not. They're partners. The best teachers combine timeless principles with new tools. They honor what works while embracing what's possible. They build on foundations rather than tearing them down. Pause. Let that sink in. If you're a young teacher feeling overwhelmed, remember this. Your energy and fresh perspective are valuable. But so is the wisdom of the veteran teacher down the hall. Learn from both. If you're an experienced teacher feeling dismissed, remember this. Your wisdom is irreplaceable. But so is the innovation that younger colleagues bring. Share generously. And if you're an administrator making decisions about staff, remember this. The best schools honor both experience and innovation. They create environments where wisdom trains energy and energy revitalizes wisdom. The standing ovation lasted 10 minutes. But more importantly, something shifted in that room. Teachers started talking. Veteran teachers offering to mentor newer colleagues. Young teachers seeking guidance from experienced staff. Administrators rethinking their approaches to professional development. One conversation at a time, education was changing. Not through mandates or policies. Through relationships. Through respect. Through recognizing that we're all on the same team. In August, I started my 35th year of teaching. The morning of the first day, I stood in my classroom, looked around at the books, the carefully arranged desks, the welcome signs. Amanda knocked on my door. "Mrs. Patterson, are you ready?" I'm always ready for the first day. Nervous. Every single year. The day I'm not nervous is the day I should retire. She laughed. Why nervous? Because every class is different. Every child is unique. Every year is a new opportunity to get it right or get it wrong. You always get it right. No, I always try to get it right. That's different. The students arrived. 22 third graders. Nervous, excited, holding their parents' hands. I greeted each one at the door. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be a wonderful year. Mrs. Martinez was there with her youngest son, Carlos. Mrs. Patterson, thank you for teaching another Martinez. The honor is mine. Mr. Johnson brought his daughter Emma. Mrs. Patterson, Emma's been talking about being in your class all summer. Emma, we're going to have so much fun learning together. The Kim family brought their youngest, James. Mrs. Patterson, we trust you with our son like we trusted you with our daughters. That trust means everything to me. By 9 o'clock, all 22 students were seated, looking at me with hopeful, nervous eyes. I looked back at them. 22 unique individuals. 22 different stories. 22 opportunities to make a difference. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mrs. Patterson, and I want to tell you something important. This classroom is a safe place. A place where mistakes are learning opportunities. Where questions are encouraged. Where everyone is valued. You don't have to be perfect here. You just have to try your best. And I promise you something. I will never give up on you. Even when things are hard. Even when progress is slow. Even when you feel like giving up on yourself. I won't give up. 'Cause that's what teachers do. We believe in you until you learn to believe in yourself. A little girl in the front row raised her hand. Yes. Mrs. Patterson, are you going to be our teacher all year? Absolutely. Promise. I promise. And I meant it. 'Cause this is what I do. What I've always done. What I'll keep doing as long as I'm able. Teaching. Building relationships. Changing lives one student at a time. 2 years ago, someone tried to force me out. Told me I was too old. Too outdated. Too inefficient. She failed because she misunderstood something fundamental. This isn't just a job. It's a calling. You can't force someone out of a calling. You can't replace purpose with policy. You can't optimize away passion. I'm 64 years old. I own 22% of Riverside Elementary. I've written a book that's sold 50,000 copies. I've trained hundreds of teachers. I've consulted with dozens of schools. But none of that matters as much as this moment. Standing in front of 22 third graders on the first day of school. Ready to make a difference. One child at a time. One lesson at a time. One day at a time. 'Cause that's what teaching is. And that's what I'll keep doing until the day I can't do it anymore. If you're facing someone trying to push you aside, remember this story. Document everything. Trust your instincts. Build your own security. Value your own worth. And never let someone else define your value. Sometimes the quiet ones are gathering evidence. Sometimes experience beats ambition. And sometimes, the person everyone underestimates is exactly the person who changes everything. Thank you for listening to my story. This is Rose Patterson, and this is Granny's Voice, reminding you that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, and it's always the right time to do what's right.